Long ago, in the land of Israel, there lived a prophet named Elijah. He was bold, fearless, and completely devoted to God. At a time when many people had turned away from God and started worshipping false idols, Elijah stood almost alone in speaking the truth. Israel was ruled by King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. They encouraged the people to worship a false god called Baal. Because of this, the nation became filled with corruption, fear, and injustice. Elijah was deeply troubled by what he saw. One day, he went directly to King Ahab with a powerful message. Elijah said, "There will be no rain or dew in this land for years unless God says so." Not long after that, the skies closed. No rain fell. Rivers dried up. Crops failed. The people became hungry and desperate. But during this difficult time, God protected Elijah. He told him to hide near a brook, where ravens brought him bread and meat every morning and evening. Even in the middle of a drought, Elijah learned that God could provide in unexpected ways. Eventually, the brook dried up too. God then sent Elijah to a small town where a poor widow lived with her son. The woman had almost nothing left, only a little flour and oil. She was preparing what she believed would be her family's last meal before starvation. But Elijah asked her to trust God and make him some bread first. Though it sounded impossible, the widow obeyed. And something amazing happened. Her jar of flour never ran empty, and her oil never ran out. Day after day, God provided enough food for them all. This miracle taught an important lesson: even in times of fear and lack, faith can open the door for hope. But the most famous moment in Elijah's life was still to come. After 3 years without rain, Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal to a public contest on Mount Carmel. Hundreds of people gathered to watch. Elijah stood alone against 450 prophets of Baal. He spoke to the people and said, "How long will you remain divided? If God is truly God, follow him." The challenge was simple. 2 altars would be prepared with sacrifices on them, but no fire would be added. The prophets would pray to their God, and Elijah would pray to the true God. Whichever God answered with fire would prove to be real. The prophets of Baal went first. From morning until evening, they shouted, danced, and begged for fire to come down. But nothing happened. No voice answered them. No fire appeared. Then Elijah rebuilt God's altar with 12 stones. He placed the sacrifice on the wood and did something surprising. He told the people to pour water over the altar again and again until everything was completely soaked. Then Elijah prayed a short and simple prayer. "Lord, let these people know that you are God." Suddenly, fire fell from heaven. It burned the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and even the water around the altar. The crowd was shocked. They fell to the ground and declared that the Lord was the true God. Soon after, dark clouds filled the sky. Heavy rain finally returned to the land. After years of drought, hope came back to Israel. But Elijah's journey was not always filled with victory. After Queen Jezebel threatened to kill him, Elijah became afraid and ran into the wilderness. Exhausted and discouraged, he sat alone and felt like giving up. Sometimes even the strongest people experience fear, loneliness, and doubt. As Elijah rested, God sent an angel to care for him, bringing him food and water. Later, Elijah stood on a mountain waiting to hear from God. A powerful wind passed by, but God was not in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. Then came fire, but God was not in the fire. Finally, there was a gentle whisper. And in that quiet moment, Elijah heard God's voice. Elijah learned that God does not always speak through dramatic signs and miracles. Sometimes his voice comes softly, bringing peace, guidance, and strength when we need it most. Near the end of his life, Elijah passed his mission on to a young man named Elisha. Then something incredible happened. As Elijah and Elisha walked together, a chariot of fire appeared, and Elijah was taken up into heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah's story is remembered because it is a story of courage, faith, and trust in God during difficult times. He faced powerful enemies, moments of fear, and impossible situations, yet he continued to believe that God was with him. His life reminds us that one person standing for truth can make a difference. It reminds us that faith can survive even during droughts, storms, and seasons of doubt. And most importantly, it reminds us that God can work through ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Even today, the story of Elijah continues to inspire people around the world to stay strong, remain faithful, and listen closely for God's voice, even in the quiet moments.